Oh no, I started streaming. And I'm still eating. Mmm. Set array size. Yeah, hi. Sorry, I cannot talk because I'm still eating. I'm just typing while I chew. Mm. That's a lot of functions. By the way, just this alone shows that it is nice to have long function names that are pretty unique for what they do. Imagine I would have two array sizes. And I wouldn't know which is which. In fact, I'm not sure. These are so many that are they all that same M array size, like this one? Oh, there's a vertex attribute with the array size. Yeah, there are a lot of them. That's another one, and that's another one. And that's the one that I want. I'm almost done eating. Done. Okay. So yeah, we have multiple array size functions, and I want this. I want to know which one calls this. I think I'll use the trick that I just rename it temporarily. Maybe even permanently. To figure out from where it's called. Oh boy, it's a virtual function that was overridden. Yeah, that you cannot just rename that. Maybe that's why I have so many, now I think about it. Need a different trick. Could put a breakpoint in it. Oh well, or I can just look at all the lines. There are not that many. No, I'm just gonna look at all of them. What is this? Vertex attributes array size. Definitely not the one. Update descriptor set. I think this is definitely related. Yes. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. No, that's the call to the base class array size. Where we are passing it to my receiving task. Well, those are just declarations. Declaration string. This writes a struct and then all the array members. So that would be an arrays inside the struct, which is not what I'm doing at the moment. Line 34, then we get these. Now I'm going to skip the vertex attribute. Hmm. Yeah, I cannot remember this. Seems kind of weird to pass the size of an array and then not... Oh wait, yeah, a single descriptor in Vulkan represents the whole array. So at the moment you create this descriptor, you have to pass how many it actually represents. I think that's this one. So then that's totally definitely what we want. And then I have this line. This is where it is written out. Indeed. I want to change this in the case that array size equals 0. In that case I want to have an unbounded array. It's a separate thing that we have to support. Maybe I should do that first. Yes, that's first, I think. Well, excusez-moi. Don't you feel safe on the other side of the microphone? So unbounded is not having a size at all. However, we need to do more, because now it doesn't know the size, right? First I'm going to look at the next line here. This is 19. Well, that's just the definition of some function. And this is the thing that I just looked at. I think we had them all, and the only thing that I really encountered here was this one. Although it would be interesting to see what exactly happened to that array size that I'm passing here. This was being sent to update descriptor, which then calls have new datum, which is called by called by something, and then they call set producer finished. So might as well look at that. Or this is being called flush new data. Immediate submit queue, combine image sampler. That's the one then. That's what I'm working on. So we're being received here, and this is then the descriptor. Yeah, we have a descriptor. The descriptor has an array size, and then we're going to do a lot of stuff. Well, whatever we do, if it has to do with the array, I bet that the word array is going to be part of it. Array size even. Array element, That would refer to the first element that we update. This only updates a single one. This is definitely something that has to be changed. I need a function that allows me to update more than a single descriptor. Okay, here we have a problem. The whole array size is not even used. So this function needs changing. What was that function? Yeah, that was that function. Okay, now if only I could remember it. Meow, that's right. Yes, yes. Exactly. And Mika Shia, another welcome to how do you think the tool finished? I have no idea, but years probably. I've now been working on it for 2 years. Let me think. So there were two things. This needs changing, and there was another function that needs changing because I want to support unbounded arrays. Okay, let's do the declaration first. I think I'll get, I mean, I need a way to check afterwards if my code works, I think. So, if I set a size of 0, that means unbounded. Then I should, 1, get an unbounded array, and 2, I should get a validation error, I think, because yeah, I didn't add support for it. So let's see what the validation error is. Allow reso. Oh, serious core dumps. Oh, that's a little bit lame. Core dumps saying that the array size must be larger than 1. Can I copy it like that? Probably not. My terminal is not exactly happy with this. Yeah, I'm just sorry. I'm just going to change this to unequal 1. And then I might have to add more support for it. So let's quickly go over all the other points where I'm using it. So the default is 1, and then we set it here. We copy it here. It's an assignment. And then we have a array size call. Yeah, well, I also think nothing here. But maybe we call array size. Also not. Yeah, I just already looked at everything, so I guess that was the only change to get rid of that assert. So this is an array of textures, in case people were wondering. Also called combined image samplers. Still quick core dump. Well, I do get a validation error, but Zero descriptors. Well, I guess that's it then. As for the not supporting it, it really interprets currently the 0 as an array of size 0. Yeah. Must be binding with a non-zero descriptor count. Okay. So without support, it's definitely going very wrong. Although it's not very clear what I have stopped on. So validation error shouldn't just not really kick me out of the program, should it? No, yeah, well, could let it slip, I guess, but out of curiosity, I would say, well, let it slip, whatever. Maybe it's so fatal that I just crashed. Okay, in order to add support, I need to change. Excuse me more. I need to change the way I allocate the descriptor. Man, it's so hard to define things back. What do I search for in this code? I don't know the better way than to look at array size again. And I must have just looked at it. So a quick look at this, where my array size is going. It's going to an M array size. Okay. 42. Could have seen that there as well. My guess would be that is the only thing that it can be. Yes, we just looked at So this is the second argument of this function, which is passed as an initializer list where we fill the descriptor count. And the second argument of this function is a descriptor layout to set layout binding, which indeed has a descriptor count, and the native type is that, which you then look up in the documentation. And then you have to find one that is clickable. That was clickable. Now we have descriptor count here. Descriptor count is the number of descriptors contained in the binding, accessed in a shader as an array, except if descriptor type is VK descriptor type inline uniform block, in which case it's number of bytes. Okay, so then we still don't know how to make an unbounded array. And for that, I think I go to Sasha Willem's code, because I think he had an example. It's not a texture array. No, that's strange. I don't see it. I'm pretty sure he had an example of this. Yeah, let's try to Google it. Vulkan unbounded array. Okay, so it says we want to write this, and then no thing, right? I mean, no size. That's true. Gets error messages, quick and dirty way. Would this be it? Runtime descriptor array? Apparently also the descriptor binding partially bound. Okay, so he does the usual way, but he sets a p next to point to this thing, which was filled in like that. I'm not convinced somehow. Right. No data. No datum or data. What is the word? Anyway, I think the keyword is this one. If such as also an example that contains that, we are in business. And he does descriptor indexing. That's exactly what I was looking for. At least, I think it was. TDT. That was the directory I was already in. Makes it even more likely, doesn't it? Okay, let's look at the code. No, he's definitely having a texture index here. Texture index is apparently used for in a vertex attribute, which is probably the best way to do that. And then lost in the noise. I guess it is being used also in the fragmentation, fragment shaders and the vertex shader. So let's find that. Well, you have to add this explicitly at the top. So this is then the unbounded thing, and then textures is being used here as an array, but in a special way. Some kind of function, which probably comes from this. Although I don't think I have to worry about that just yet, because this emphasizes that it's non-uniform, as in dynamic, as in it's some variable. And I just have hard-coded just a 0, right? So in order to get that working, I probably only need to do the what is it? The creation of the descriptor correctly. I don't see a p next being set here. Why don't we just literally look for it? P next. Yeah, that's the p next. Descriptor set layout create info. P next is pointed to set layout binding flags. Yep, already have that. And then another pnex being set, variable descriptor count. Variable descriptor count, that's probably it. Allocation info. No, I don't know. Oh man, I cannot find it. I'm gonna look for that. It's just features. Enable required extensions. What? I didn't mean that. Inspect. Yeah, come on. Highlights it on the body. I think, well, let's spend 1 minute to disable that thing, but no, I cannot find it. I had it highlighted though, a second ago. Oh, I need to put the mouse longer on it. Oh, WebKit scroll bar. Yeah, it's more like. Well, sorry, I cannot find it. Normally, this is just an overlay and you can disable it, but I don't think the text goes any further than this ... anyway. So it's probably pointless to try it. I already disabled a few things. Was that before maybe a little bit less readable? Yeah. What you also can do is, if you really think that is interesting, is copy some text of it and then search for it. And sometimes you find the free thing in full. For example, the title. This seems more to the point, doesn't it? Set variable descriptor count allocate info. When you create a descriptor set for an unbounded array with a variable size, you must use the vk descriptor set variable descriptor count allocate info struct. It's pretty it's doing that, but it's using an extension. It's probably no longer an extension now. So I have to tell Vulkan the descriptor counts for each set with a variable descriptor count. The struct should be in the pnext chain of your vk descriptor set allocate info. The spec is worded strangely for the struct. Essentially, it seems to be the maximum number of descriptors in each of your unbounded arrays. Since an unbounded array must be the last binding in the descriptor set, there can only be one unbounded array per descriptor set. Oh, it must be the last one. Extra difficulties. Oh, no. Suckage. But okay, anyway, this means you only need to specify one count per descriptor set, which is exactly what vk descriptor set variable descriptor count allocate info has you do. You don't need to worry about descriptor counts for sets that don't have any unbounded arrays. Or if you do, the spec doesn't make that clear, but you absolutely do need to worry about descriptor counts for sets that do have unbounded arrays. If you're like me and you get your descriptor sizes from shader reflection, you'll need to propagate that information to where you create your descriptor sets. I simply pass down an array of the descriptor counts of a variable size descriptors in each descriptor set. There's an array of ints, so it'll probably work for you. Hey, written by Death Rate. Binding resources to an unbounded array. Descriptor works just like binding resources to a regular array descriptor. Okay, so yeah, it seems that the only thing I need is this. So let's look up the spec. So we have a vk descriptor set allocate info, and then it says if the pnext chain of a vk descriptor set allocate info structure includes a vk descriptor set variable descriptor count allocator info structure, then that structure includes an array of descriptor counts for variable size descriptor bindings, one for each descriptor set being allocated. The structure is defined as or the equivalent, okay. If descriptor set count is 0 or the structure is not included in the pnext chain, then the variable lengths are considered to be 0. Variable lengths are considered to be 0. Otherwise, p descriptor counts I is the number of descriptors in the variable sized descriptor binding in the corresponding descriptor set layout. If the variable sized descriptor binding in the corresponding descriptor set layout has a descriptor type of vk descriptor type inline neutral block bytes, okay. If p set layout does not include variable size descriptor binding, then p descriptor counts is ignored. It doesn't say it has to be the last one. It just says that there can only be one. That's already much better. Although still an exception. Still needs a change of my code. Can only put one of them. Okay. Okay. So let's have a look at where I am using this. In my code. vk descriptor set allocate info. That's something else. Only here. Okay, so I have a function allocate descriptor sets. That is not a lot of information. That information is not here. I'm just passing descriptor set layout handles apparently. Very confusing. Calling it twice, but this looks to be for IMG, so they can ignore that. And then it's being called here, which is pretty shortly before we crash. Object name MIMG also. What? Okay, I'm going to investigate, what is it, if this is the right spot. Because I just read in the specs that it ignores it if there are no unbounded. So I might as well just add it hard code here, something like there's always unbounded and the size is 2. And then that should work, because either there are, or there is, or it is being ignored. Unless I have 2 of them in one set, that wouldn't work. So in this structure, but I use the C++ interface, so that becomes that. Descriptor set, I'm just giving it the full name, variable. Descriptor accounts allocate info. Happy now? And then descriptor count. Yeah, that's a good question. My guess is that. And that then should be a pointer to an uint 32. Yeah, well, foo. Uint 32 type foo 2. Actually, no. Even that is, I don't know what it is. Just make it a vector uint 32 type. Yeah, I don't know that. I know, man. So I'm saying that the array size is 2 for whatever descriptor sets we have. I'm just going to add a p next, I guess. I think that's what they say that is required. Add the p next. Points to something that has for each descriptor set the size. This is so not going to work. And I didn't even mean this. Really? Well, it doesn't work, but it's still crashing. I think I just concentrate on the first run in GDB, first validation error. I'm not sure I understand this. Let's read it 10 times. P descriptor counts 0 is 2, and the bindings descriptor count is 1. So that's a mismatch, but nobody understands exactly what that refers to. I'm going to guess that this refers to what I just added, because I put 2 in it. If vk descriptor set allocate info p set layouts, I could say what I was. There's a variable size descriptor binding, and I guess it does. Then p descriptor counts I must be less than or equal to the descriptor count specified for that binding when the descriptor set layout was created. Nope. Fortunately, we can go up. No, I don't have to go up. Print so much debug info, it should be here already. This is for thread pool 0 at the moment I call that. Oh, I think it has to do with the fact that this is MIMQ, not. It's a descriptor set of MIMQ. Yeah, well, it's getting in the way. Apparently, setting it to 0 is not the way to do it. But then what do I set it to? Okay, that's let's say we have an array of size 2. I mean, that's why I'm setting 2 here. And apparently it's not happy with the fact that I put 0 in the descriptor count. Let's put a 3 in it, whatever, so I can see the difference. So if this is now 0, then it will put 3 in the descriptor count. Well, then we are back at the last validation error, so apparently that worked. I guess it can be ignored. No, it just works. So we're on the right track, I guess. So not setting the array size to 0, it means unbounded, but that's not how it works. I still have to give it a size. You must give it a size, apparently, yeah. The unbounded refers to the fact that I don't want the size to be reflected in the shader. But you need to give the size at the moment you allocate your descriptor sets. So instead of passing 0, I'll have to change that there is no special value anymore. For array size, I just have to add a boolean or something like that maybe, so to remember that it is unbound. Yeah, I could make it negative. Negative values are unbound. But do I really want to do that? Nah, let's add a boolean, I think. Hello, hey Virgin, how are you? Still studying, or you are done now, right? You're done with the exams. Oh, okay. Still 5 weeks to go. Razor, I just started coding this. I didn't know anything about graphics. I just started, and then I did dive into the hardest thing that you can imagine, Vulkan, without having almost any knowledge about even the graphics at all. So that was not smart. I guess it's much easier to learn Vulkan if you already know how graphics work. So probably to first start with OpenGL is smarter. Or learn it in a different way. I'm not happy with the true here, because what does true mean? I would much rather use something like unbounded or something. But yeah, then what namespace do we put that in, right? Can make it a little bit longer. Unbounded array. Can almost put that in global namespace, right? Or I can make it part of the function name, of course. Set unbounded array size. Which is better? Different function name or passing some enum? I think I like this one better. It's not a verbal function. Well, it's just set array size. Oh. No, you're not supposed to use defined razor in C++. Anything is better than a define. Problem is, this is in global. This is user code, so it's a global namespace. Can at most inherit from the base class, which is the synchronous window. So also little to do with this. So it feels like if I want this to work, then I have to put unbounded array in global namespace. Or I don't, and I just add a namespace here, I guess. I could get it from a namespace where this thing is being defined in, that's shady resource. But yeah, none of that feels very nice either. Oh, we're not about simpler, Razor. We're about robust. If I would use a define, then it's still global namespace, right? I'm totally not happy with the namespaces that I've been using for a lot of things. I need to spend a lot of time moving stuff around, maybe even renaming some of my namespaces. Got this double namespace here that doesn't add anything. Plus, it's not even really the right naming. I don't think so. Nah. I really need to sort this out. Since this is a member function of combined image sampler, you would say, well, then this thing should go into this namespace, or even just be. I'm going to make it part of that one. I mean, it's just, well, it's horrible, but. At least doesn't get into the way now. If I do it like this, and I'll figure out the right naming later, and then, of course, the user can always say, I don't want to type this, so I'm making a header or whatever, where I make an abbreviation, and then they can just use unbounded array, and then it will be replaced by this. For now, I typed the full thing here. Well, I didn't type it, I pasted it in. So it's not about typing a lot or not. I really don't care how long my things are, but if they get too long, it just doesn't look nice, and or my lines start to wrap a little bit too much. So now I have to add this to the combined image sampler, which I have two, unfortunately. This one is in the shader resource, then apparently. I think I want this one. Yeah, it's in the shader resource. So enum. I have no idea. I'm just getting really lazy at picking my variable names. I think that also has to do with the fact that I'm streaming. I normally I would have no problem thinking a full hour for about a single name, just because I want to get the right name. I don't think I can even think 5 minutes about this name when there are a handful of people watching. So then I just pick something random. So that was the thing, right? Well, now maybe a bounded array is a default then, I guess. Now I need to pass the array type to the set array size. And the default is bounded. And we pass that on. But now I don't care anymore about this type. Otherwise, I have to I mean, this type is now part of this class, right? So yeah, that would be painful to pass it on like that. But I can just do pass it on a boolean. Because now it's not user interface anymore. And then the other set array thus takes a boolean. Yeah, now we have the problem that actually now I am tempted to use negative values because I don't want to add another atomic. I've got that all these things had to be atomics because of the way it works. So I think I'm going to change this to a signed array and then make it negative. See if there is a standard apps for non-float things. Yeah, we have it for int. So that's the one that I would use then. Defined in C standard lib. Oh, I suppose I already have that, but you never know. Let's include it. Wait, that's not the right way to do it, I think, actually. So they have to pass values larger than 1, but if unbounded is set, I make that a negative value. And then we treat the array size here as something that can be positive or negative, and you cannot change it unless it was still 1, which is the initial value. Yeah, that should work. Yeah, that's too many. Let's just compile it and see what the errors are. Oops. Oops. Oops, 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 oops. Double oops. Kind of surprised that it already compiles. Yeah, no. Well, no, not really. I added the array size stuff to the base class, but it's only being used by the combined image sampler. So that was the only return type that they had to change. Now I have to go over all of them again. I think this is the one. Yeah, shader resource is the one. So this is now strange as it compiles, as it were. Update the script set. No. Yeah, it ends here. It's part of that thing. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth element of whatever we pass through this thing. Array size. So that should be like that. UWU, yeah. Cannot even type your name. Unbelievable. It's not my complete Vim config, but I guess you meant the highlighting. And I'm using new Vim. Yep. Well, I guess that's something else. Resource member. Don't call. Return false declaration string. Very annoying that I used array size for different arrays. I think that's an unsigned as well, right? Shader resource is the base, and the base has now an unsigned array. Int, yeah. The fact that this is commented out also it's tiny little bit strange. "19. I'll just look at that file, so I guess I have them all. No, this file I mean. Razor, all of them? No. At some point I deleted a lot of them, but that has been long ago. There should be at least several dozen streams left. Now you make me curious, man. Did YouTube delete my streams? No, it's still there. They are still there. Okay. I might delete them at some point. But the only reason I would delete them is because I feel like they probably take a lot of a lot of disk space. So I would have to feel pity for YouTube. And I am starting to dislike YouTube a lot. So I'm less inclined to be nice to them by deleting my stuff and freeing up disk space. But at some point I think I'll delete it because it's really just not, doable for anyone to start watching my streams from a year ago and sit through the hundreds of hours. It's just pointless. On the other hand, maybe one day when I'm so old I cannot code anymore, I'm just gonna sit in front of my own streams and relive my my whole life, basically. Yeah, wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, I don't think I should do that. I should probably move more. Okay, take a break, go for a walk right now. But instead, I'm going to... That was line 19, so that was this one. No, that was not this one. It was this one. Return. Oh, this is too close. And this is just probably changed. I just changed it. Come on. Change it. Yep, it was changed. And now we are at line 61, which looks like it needs change. And then we have 93, which is also needs change. Razor, yeah, I don't know, man. Probably would be more efficient for users anyway if I just wrote documentation. No, it's not a brothel. I'm doing it again. narrowing conversion of ops from int to uint. Compilers these days are not smart. Yeah, well, what shall I say about it? It's the right place, I guess, to do the thing. And I have the size now, more or less. And Razor says, how do you feel about object-oriented programming? A lot of people in game programming dislike it. They rather go for data-oriented or procedural. I'm clearly very into object-oriented programming myself. But, well, first of all, it requires a lot more work. So if you want just to quickly add something, then I guess people would be tend to skip the object-oriented approach, because it just requires a lot more work. Certainly to do it good. That I guess that other people might have the arguments like that you don't gain much from it, maybe, because, well, I've seen, for example, the way Sasha Willems codes is not object-oriented at all. And I have to say that his code looks very clean. The main problem that I have with his code is that I would need to be a teenager again to be able to code like this. I mean, when I was a teenager, I was just not writing any comments. I'm not saying that he's not writing comments, but back then I wasn't writing any comments because I just could remember everything. I just wrote my program, and it didn't matter how long and how big it was. I just knew everything. So, you know, you're never wondering, like, what was this again, or something like that. No, I read something and then I knew it, and I wrote it and I knew it. So let me try to find a good point. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff, that you have to do this line, but also this line, and also this line, and also this line, and also this line. And the problem that I have with that is that if you leave out one of those lines, well, maybe not in this case, but it's just that in general, the feeling that I have is if you do not use any objects, then this might not be a good example. But a lot of code tends to look like you need to know not just exactly what you're doing, but you need to have the spec of the Vulkan in your head. You need to say, okay, I want to draw a polygon with several textures on it that is glowing and looks like it's rounded off. It must be rotating. So, and then you just start typing without having to look up anything, not forgetting anything. So the reason I use object-oriented programming, because that allows me to get slapped on the wrist when I make a mistake. So if I use my own interface, it's not going to be possible anymore to make stupid mistakes or forget things. My code should tell me what I'm doing wrong and or what I'm forgetting. And it's still not going to be easy, of course, but if I wrote it myself, I at least I will know, which example code did it before, and then can look at that, and then it's reasonably easy, I think, to copy then the code that I already wrote and get a clear idea again on how to approach it. Razor, I cannot deny that. Yeah, I'm at least in my case, I definitely do that. Probably even admitting that it is premature. But then again, I'm mostly motivated by having a bad memory these days. So that being said, I think that object-oriented programming has a lot of advantages because I have done it from the start. Also, when I just started C++ and still had a good memory, I've always thought that the object-oriented approach did lead to very robust code. I've always, for a very long time, tried to code in a way that basically, that you type in what you want and then the compiler starts throwing errors at you, and then by the time you fixed all the errors, it worked. That has always been my goal. If I write a library and you try to use that and it compiles, then in my eyes you have written a really, really bad API, a bad library. If it compiles and there is a bug in it. That just should not happen. So if you use any of my libraries and you make a mistake, it's going to tell you with asserts. Preferably at compile time, of course, which then also takes a lot of time to design. But if not at compile time, it should tell you at runtime. And I think that, the feeling that I have, other Vulkan programmers, and I'm really having the feeling that all the other Vulkan programmers code like that, except me then, is that they just, they know the spec or they look it up. They code in Vulkan, which is very complex and very extended. And then they get things to work. And if it doesn't work, they have to debug it using the validation errors, and external tools. So there are of course tools that like let's just look at what you send to what Vulkan API you are using, and you can completely analyze your whole scene and see what happened. That's all the external tool. It's nothing to do with what they are writing. That's how they work. Well, I prefer more that I will never use I will never need those tools, because I type in more or less what I want and then my engine makes it work. No need to debug it. Yeah, I do not want to be. I do not want to limit the user in flexibility. So, if I want to support like everything that might be needed in the future, I need to do everything. Yeah, very very abstract, in a very abstract way. That's why I'm absolutely not writing a game at the moment. I have no idea what I'm going to write. What I'm writing is something that will allow me to write anything I can think of in the future, but I didn't think of it yet. So it's a, I think, totally different approach than when you have already an end goal, an end application in mind. So you want to write a certain game. You already know that you have this or that avatar and that has to look like that, and landscapes of those sizes, and you want to use those textures, you can write your code explicitly for that. For example, the Sasha Willems code is he writes an example that is about a certain topic of Vulkan. And then that is the topic. So it's not general, it's not abstract, it's not object-oriented programming. It's just about that one topic, which is good because the intent of these examples are to show people how to use Vulkan. Yeah, so it is literally about the lowest level of Vulkan, how to use the API and do something. So the less code, the better. And the more low-level Vulkan core, the better. So it's an excellent, what is the word? A reference material in that case. But I wouldn't want to code like this, in this style, for a complete game. Well, I'm sure he does that, and I think he can, because, again, I think it's a matter of memory. For example, if you look at, let's say, pick one, I don't know, deferred multisampling. Don't even know what it is. So you see, as a class, okay, but it's public. Everything is public. That's a way to do it, but yeah, I would never do that. Never, ever. It's really not, yeah, if you get a really large program and everything in the model is accessing your variables, at some point you cannot debug it anymore if anything goes wrong. Plus, it has a tendency to go wrong a lot quicker. But this method is definitely different. It just declares all the variables that are involved. And I have the feeling he's like literally writing it top to bottom. Maybe I'm mistaken, but he's like, okay, I need this, I'm gonna need this, I need this. I mean, that what he has in his head is like totally different than what I have in my head. I couldn't do this. So nothing but respect for being able to write it like that. But I think he had a lot of experience with graphics before he even begin with Vulkan. And then it's probably easier to map the Vulkan onto that experience and have a good feel of what it is that you all need. And then he says, well, okay, we need an initialization for all those things. So the initialization is just done in the constructor. Not even in an initialization list, I have to say. Then the deinitialization in the destructor. Yeah, a few functions that are more procedural than anything else. The functions do something, but all pretty, raw level, low level stuff. It's just assigning values, give everything the right value, and then call the raw Vulkan API functions. These are all API, Vulkan API. Now, overall, this code is much easier than my code. I mean, anyone can look at this and understand what he's doing. And that's the whole point, of course. It's an example for people to look at and understand what's going on. Well, unfortunately, I don't think that my code is very understandable for some random person to look at. It doesn't really have to be, as long as it just works. Capital J and W. I must say I missed the topic, deferred multi-sampling. So where is the deferred and where is the multi? I have a draw. I guess it has to do with the updating of the uniform buffers here. It's also deferred even. I think it has to do with this function mostly. It might be called a lot or something. It's called there. Prepare uniform buffers. No, I would like to find the render loop. It's probably draw. He's drawing stuff off screen and then... What the hell is off screen? Yeah, well, I don't understand the details, but if you have specifically need for you know what deferred multi-sampling is, and then you want to know how to do that in Vulkan, then this is a nice example, even based on the fact that it's just one file of only 28 kilobytes. Yeah, Razor, yeah. It's basically see where all the functions are now member functions or stuff like that. It's a bit vague sometimes, but I think that this is like I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I think this code of him is written very well, and I have the highest respect for how it looks. And I think that's the right way to write it, the way he did it, considering that it is to show people how to use the Vulkan API. But in my opinion, I don't think it's the right style to use to write a big game. And I think that a lot of people do that anyway, but I'm not sure. I never really saw code of other people of real projects. So anyway, I think I should take a break. And then I'll have to look at this full part here. That was all nice, but really we just have to do it the correct way. Or less, right? If I make this a 1, I think that should get rid of all the validation errors. I have to test it. Nope, still validation errors. Index 1 is used. Okay, that's kind of confusing. Yeah, no, I don't understand it then, apparently. I guess I'll just have to go for the equal sign and just use these, whatever the size is here of the array. And nevertheless, with then the only benefit being that my shader, the shader code doesn't have to be recompiled for every different size. I think I can do that because I shouldn't know exactly what the size is at this point anyway. There's no reason not to use the correct size. That means therefore, in order now to finish this or do it correctly, I'll have to know the size of each unbounded array in each descriptor at this point, while we are inside this function, which doesn't get any of that. The only thing I get is a vector of descriptor set layouts. However, we are in... No, we don't. Well, I do have the descriptor sets indexes here, which might translate into the information that I need if I would have also the shader input data object. And we can pass that. Let's look at where this is called from. So this is called from the shader input data. So yeah, I have descriptor set indexes here. That can be mapped to the shader resource declaration context. Although that's a hint, not the real set index. Yeah, I'm not convinced. Yeah. Okay, getting the feeling that there's not much more hope than getting the shader resource declaration object, which contains declarations, I guess. Shader resource variable. Nope. Okay, I have no idea. I'll just have to put more time into it. How to get the array size here. Yep, I'm going to for a walk, I think. I'll be